Revealed. How I discovered my daughter's amazing hidden reason for excluding me from her wedding. Jack's chest tightened as he stood in his cluttered garage, the hum of his tools a solemn symphony of solitude. Sweat trickled down his brow, but it wasn't the heat of the summer day, it was the plummeting feeling in his gut. His daughter Emily was getting married, and he hadn't even been invited. It felt like a blade had sliced through the very core of him. For a decade, a painstakingly long decade since the tragic loss of his wife, he had dedicated every ounce of himself to raising her alone. Hadn't every scraped knuckle at the shop been worth it? As the years passed, he believed his sacrifices, long hours as a mechanic, skipping lunch to save money for her future, would be proof of his love. And yet, the other townsfolk, once his friends, whispered behind closed doors, their judgment burning through the thin fabric of community bonds. His heart ached. Did they think he was a failure? Did they know the hours he spent trying to make her smile? The laughter they shared over backyard barbecues? The lessons he taught her about life under the hood of an old car? Those moments felt like fading photographs now. Each passing day he felt their connection fraying like a worn-out tire on his workshop floor. Neighbors offered their stories of familial misunderstandings, sharing tales of how love sometimes strays. But these accounts only emphasized his isolation. Each story was a reminder of what he was losing, and in their offers of sympathy, he felt even more alone. Jack stepped outside, needing a break from the weight of it all. As he walked the familiar streets of his small town, the sun beat down, yet he felt the shadows creeping in. That's when he saw her, Sarah, Emily's high school teacher, a figure from a happier time. They exchanged a few hesitant words, but suddenly Sarah's expression shifted. "Jack," she said softly, "Emily has her reasons." His heart raced. Could it be? Was there something more beneath this apparent rift? As she spoke, he heard how Emily feared that his grief would overshadow her special day, how she believed distancing him was a way to protect him. Jack's tears threatened to spill over. Was this true? He felt a spark of hope for their bond, a chance to breathe new life into the relationship that had started to wane. Yet he was still left reeling, stumbling through the emotional haze of confusion. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, a multitude of conflicting emotions swirled within him. Should he confront Emily? What if he pushed too hard? Should he allow her to carve this part of her life out alone? Silence enveloped him, but beyond it, laughter floated toward him from the wedding venue. This would be the happiest day of her life, and here he was, an outsider at the edge of the celebration. He thought of the moments they had shared, the hugs, the long drives, the quiet evenings when stories had been passed like trophies. Jack inhaled deeply, heart pounding. Standing on the precipice of the biggest decision of his life, he needed to find the courage to approach her. Would this evening mark the end of their story? Or could it be the dawn of a new chapter? Jack stood there, the vibrant colors of the sunset casting long shadows on the ground. His mind raced, turning over every moment he had shared with Emily. He could still picture her as a little girl, running toward him with arms wide open, ready for a hug after a long day. Where had that little girl gone? In her place was a woman soon to be married, a woman who appeared to be carving out a life separate from him. He wiped a hand across his sweaty forehead, mentally battling the knots of uncertainty in his stomach. Taking a deep breath, he couldn't ignore the laughter from beyond the wedding venue any longer. If he didn't act now, another moment would slip away, and he might lose his chance to reconnect. He started walking, each step a reminder of how desperately he wanted his daughter back in his life. As he approached the wedding tents, he could see the twinkling lights hanging above, casting a warm glow like stars against the evening sky. People milled about, friends and family chatting, but his heart sank as he was reminded once more of his absence from this joyous occasion. Should he burst in there without an invitation, or stand back and watch? Anxiety gripped him, but suddenly he remembered Sarah's words. Emily had her reasons. Maybe understanding those reasons could open a door they both needed. He scanned the crowd for a glimpse of her. There was Emily in a stunning white dress, her smile radiant as she mingled with guests. For a moment, he felt that familiar pride swell in his chest. This was the girl he had raised, despite the hardships they had faced. But the smile on her face reminded him of the space between them, the silent barrier he couldn't quite breach. Just then she turned. Their eyes locked and Jack's heart raced. Would she recognize him? Would she see how far he had fallen? He raised a shaky hand in an awkward wave, and to his surprise Emily's smile faltered. There was confusion in her expression, then it shifted to resolve. Taking a breath that felt like it could lift him off the ground, Jack stepped forward. But before he could even call out her name, a man slid between them. He was tall, handsome, with an easy confidence that made Jack's heart sink further. The man leaned down to whisper something in Emily's ear, and her eyes lit up. In that moment Jack felt himself recoil. He was witnessing a moment of intimacy he had spent years fearing his little girl growing up, moving forward without him. But the feelings of loss began to morph. Anger joined the fear. Who was this man to take his place? A million questions looped in his mind like a broken record. Wasn't he meant to be here for her? He took a step back, feeling the sting of neglect washing over him. Just then someone from the crowd caught his eye. Old Mr. Thompson, their neighbor for years, looked at him with pity mixed with understanding. It was almost as if he was saying, "You have to go now." Jack's heart was pounding hard enough to drown out the happenings around him. He was losing her, and yet inside a determination flickered to life. Maybe confronting her about the hidden reason would help mend their relationship. Maybe it would be the key to reconnecting and breaking down the walls she had built with newfound conviction. He pushed through the throng of guests, heading straight for Emily. The laughter faded to the background, his focus narrowed to the girl who made him a father. But what he didn't expect was the sudden hand that clamped down on his shoulder, stopping him in his tracks. "Jack, you can't just go up to her like that." He turned to see Sarah standing beside him. Her face mirrored his emotions, eyes wide with concern as if she understood the tempest brewing inside him. "Not yet, you need to understand how she feels first." Jack's pulse quickened. Could understanding really change everything? Time hung in the air, seconds stretching like hours. He felt the weight of Sarah's words. Would he be strong enough to hear the truth hidden beneath the surface? Just as he started to respond, a shout echoed from the reception area, drawing everyone's attention. Jack's stomach dropped. What was happening now? The shout reverberated through the air, a sharp jolt that made Jack's heart leap into his throat. Everyone turned toward the reception area. A collective gasp rippled among the guests, and his eyes darted to Emily, whose smile had faded into a mask of confusion. The room, once filled with jubilant laughter, was suddenly charged with tension. "What was that?" Jack whispered, his voice barely finding its way past the lump in his throat. Sarah's grip tightened on his shoulder, her gaze fixed ahead. "I don't know, but we should find out." They moved closer, the crowd parting like waves for them. As they reached the edge of the reception area, Jack could see the source of the commotion. A cradle of champagne glasses had tipped over, shattering against the ground, tiny explosions of glass barking into the air. But it wasn't the spill that drew the most gasps. It was Emily's fiancé, David, his face pale as he stepped back, hands raised in a defensive gesture. A woman stood in front of him, eyes blazing, pointing accusatively. "You don't deserve her. You're lying to her." The shock in the guests marooned the atmosphere as whispers began to swirl, and Jack felt an overwhelming urge to fight through the crowd. "What's going on?" he demanded, but Sarah whispered back, "Wait. Just listen." Incredulous, Jack glanced back at Emily. Her expression had shifted to a blend of anger and sadness as she confronted David. "Is this true? What is she talking about?" Emily, David's voice was strained, looking around the room as if searching for help. "I swear I don't even know her." "It's not what you think." Jack's heart slammed against his ribs, an electric fear sparking in his chest. He could see Emily's hands clenching into fists, her lips trembling as the other woman pressed forward, not backing down. "He doesn't love you. He has been stringing you along while still chasing an ex. You need to wake up." Jack caught Emily's wide eyes and felt her heart break in that instant. Was this what Sarah was talking about? The truth? A hidden reason for her distance? The revelation clawed its way into his mind. Before he could process more, the crowd's murmurs crescendoed, a wave of judgments crashing over them. "Let us get him out of here," someone shouted, directing the outrage toward David. "Emily, please let me explain." David's desperation was palpable, but Emily's face hardened. Jack could see the confusion transform into clarity within Emily. She took a step back, her shoulders lifting with resolve. "No, you don't get to talk your way out of this. I want the truth." The air felt thick with potential. Jack took another step, heart pounding, as if he were preparing to jump into the unknown. "Emily," he called out, his voice breaking through the chaos. She turned, finally looking directly at him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. In that moment everything else faded away. The noise, the chaos, it didn't matter. All he saw was Emily standing there waiting for something. Was it an answer? A connection? But just as he opened his mouth to speak, another shout echoed, drawing everyone's attention once more to David. Jack tightened his grip on Sarah's arm, heart racing. "Listen, Emily. There's something you need to know about your mom," David said, his voice full of urgency, as he turned to face her, seeking solace in the truth. A hush fell over the crowd, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Jack's heart sank, but he couldn't back down. Whatever truth David had to reveal could change everything. Would it cut deeper, or would it finally open a door to healing? He felt the urge to rush forward, but the eyes of the crowd, the weight of the moments, held him still. Could he bear to hear whatever came next? Would Emily finally understand what had driven them apart all this time? Or would this revelation push them further away? With bated breath he watched, knowing that everything hung in the balance. Emily shook her head as if trying to wake from a dream. "What about my mom?" she whispered, her voice threading through the stark silence. David took a deep breath, his eyes darting toward the crowd and back at Emily, weighing his words. Jack's heart raced, anxiety boiling over. This wasn't just about the space between David and Emily anymore. It was about secrets held for too long. "I didn't know how to tell you," David finally stammered, his hands falling to his sides in resignation. "Your mom, she wasn't just upset about us. She knew about me," and he faltered, glancing at the accusing woman still not far from him. "Your mom had her own struggles. She was sick, Emily." "Sick?" A cold shiver ran through Jack. Emily's eyes filled with shock and disbelief, reflecting a tumult of emotions. For a brief moment the world seemed to narrow down to the two of them. Every face around them blurred into a backdrop of concern. "David, what are you saying?" Emily's voice was a fragile whisper now, filled with disbelief and hurt. Jack could see her trembling, caught in a storm of pain and confusion. "I'm saying," he hesitated, gathering strength. "She was battling depression. I didn't know how deep it went until it was too late." Gasps fluttered through the crowd. Jack's heart ached for Emily, for the raw reality of what she must be feeling. Questions churned through him. How could David have kept this from her? Emily took a staggering step back, her face twisting into a mixture of anger and sorrow. "How could you not tell me?" she cried, her voice breaking. "You let me believe everything was fine. You made me choose between us. I thought protecting you was the right thing to do." David's voice raised but instantly quieted, filled with remorse. "Your mom didn't want you to worry. She thought you'd be better off. I should have fought harder to make you see." Jack's instincts screamed at him to intervene, to add his voice, to comfort her. He wanted to reach through the chaos, take her hand, and show her she wasn't alone. But what weight could his words carry against this revelation? The crowd shifted uncomfortably, a mixture of witnesses caught in a dramatic play unfolding before them. Some murmured comforting whispers, while others shook their heads, disapproving of David's handling of the situation. Emily stared at David, her expression unreadable. "So all this was for my good? For my happiness?" she said, bitterness creeping into her tone. "You thought keeping me in the dark was a kindness? Emily, please no. Stop." Her voice rang out sharply, slicing through the tension. Jack shivered, knowing this was a pivotal moment. She was standing at a crossroads, seemingly broken but ready to choose her path. Instead of facing David, Emily turned to Jack, eyes pleading. "What do I do?" Her pain was palpable, twisting in his gut. "Look, whatever you feel, it's valid. Take your time to process. I'm right here." Jack's voice was steady, firm. He could see the shadows lurking in her gaze. She was searching for clarity amidst the chaos. As the air filled with unspoken emotions, time felt suspended. Each heartbeat echoed in the silence that followed, laden with uncertainty and longing. David's eyes fell, something deep within him shuddering under the weight of truth. Emily, I didn't mean, he started again. But Jack could sense her resolve hardening, like a steel barrier unyielding to any more excuses. I'll confront him. I deserved the truth, and so did Mom, Emily declared, her voice growing stronger. Jack felt a glimmer of hope. This was the Emily he knew, the fighter, ready to reclaim her narrative, ready to face what lay ahead. But as she turned back to David, uncertainty lurked in her eyes again. Just don't forget, I still have questions. And as those words settled like heavy stones, Jack wondered what layers of secrets yet remained to be unearthed. Would Emily truly confront her past with courage? Or would the echoes of hidden truths shatter everything permanently? The crowd was waiting, bated breath shared among guests, as Emily prepared to step into a new chapter of her life. What would her next question be? And would it lead them toward healing or another painful revelation? Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself as she faced David once more. The sun shone down, illuminating the crowd that had turned into silent spectators, their curiosity and concern hanging heavy in the air. She felt their eyes on her, but her focus remained solely on the man who had concealed the truth from her for far too long. Why didn't you just tell me? She asked, her voice trembling but fierce, demanding answers as if the very air could produce them. Was it out of fear? Or were you just trying to protect yourself? David shifted uneasily, his color draining. Jack saw the way his lips parted, yet no words came forth. Emily picked up on his silence, and it ignited a fire in her. I deserve the truth, David, no matter how painful it is. Emily, please. It wasn't just me, David pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. I was trying to navigate my own emotions exactly. Emily cut him off, her eyes narrowing. You were thinking about yourself, not about what I needed or what I deserved. All this time you kept me in the dark while I grieved for a mother who was struggling, and I didn't even know. She stepped closer, forcing him to meet her gaze, the hurt in her eyes piercing through his defenses. What you consider protecting me is nothing but a betrayal. How can I trust you now? David's shoulders sagged under the weight of her words, the gravity of the moment dawning on him. I never meant to hurt you. But you did, Emily shouted, the rawness of her emotions spilling out. And it's not just you, David. It's about Mom. What kind of relationships do we build when we can't be honest? She could see David's eyes flicker with shame. Jack felt a mixture of admiration and heartbreak for Emily, a young woman struggling to reclaim the pieces of a life appended by half-truths. Your mom fought her demons alone because she thought it was best for you, he murmured, as if trying to reframe his past failures. She didn't want you to worry. She loved you too much. Love doesn't mean hiding the truth, Jack interjected, his voice steady and soothing. If anything, it shows a lack of faith in the bond you two shared. Emily turned to him, gratitude shining through her pain. Do you think she could have opened up to me if you had? She asked, directing her question at David, holding him accountable. David looked away, guilt gnawing at him. I can't change the past, he admitted softly. But I regret not being honest. I was scared of losing you both. The tension hung thick, and for a moment, silence took over once again. Emily's heart pounded in her chest, torn between sorrow and the urge to scream. The crowd remained still, a collective breath held as they awaited her next move. I can't forgive you right now, she finally said, her voice steadier than before, though raw with emotion. I need time. Time to process all of this, to find my own truth. And maybe even forgive her. David nodded slowly, the hope in his eyes extinguished. He stepped back, allowing Emily room to breathe, even as the space between them felt unbridgeable. Jack inched closer, longing to reach out and reassure her, to let her know she wasn't falling alone. Let us go, she whispered to Jack, glancing at the crowds of faces blurring into unrecognizable shapes. He nodded, silently ushering her away from the painful confrontation, into the gentler noise of the world outside. Just as they began to walk, Emily hesitated, her expression shifting with determination. Whatever I decide, Jack, it has to be my choice. I won't bury this. I owe Mom that much. I owe myself that much. As they stepped away, leaving David behind in a sea of regrets. Jack wondered what lay ahead. Would Emily truly navigate this painful path without losing herself? Or would she discover deeper truths that would forever alter her perception of family, a haunting question echoing in the air? Emily and Jack stepped into the quiet of the street, the chaos of emotions still lingering in the air like smoke. She could hear the faint whispers of the crowd behind them, each voice a reminder of what had just happened. The sun bathed the pavement in warmth, but she felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. Jack walked beside her, his presence a comforting anchor in the storm of her feelings. "Are you okay?" he asked gently, glancing sideways to catch her eye. She nodded, trying to push the heaviness down. "I will be," she replied, though a wave of uncertainty washed over her. She didn't want to break down in front of him, but the weight of the moment felt like a boulder on her chest. I need time, you know?" "Of course," Jack replied, his voice steady. "Take all the time you need. I'm here. Always." As they rounded the corner, the busy street came into view. People were laughing, going about their day, completely unaware of the turmoil she felt inside. Emily envied their ease. She wished she could be one of them, laughing and carefree, instead of shattered by secrets and unspoken truths. "Do you want to go somewhere? Maybe grab a coffee?" Jack offered, trying to lighten the mood. That sounded nice. A small escape. "Yeah, let us do that." She could use a distraction for just a moment. They found a small cafe tucked away on a quiet side street. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped them as they stepped inside, and Emily inhaled deeply, hoping for a glimpse of normalcy. They settled at a small table by the window. Jack ordered for both of them, his ease making her feel slightly more grounded. As they waited for their drinks, Emily picked at a napkin, her mind racing with thoughts. Her heart hurt, filled with the weight of everything unsaid. "Do you think David will ever really change?" she asked suddenly, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack paused, considering her question. "I think people can change if they genuinely want to, but change is hard and it takes time. I don't know if I can trust him again," she confessed, eyeing the cafe's bustling patrons, their lives seemingly untouched by the chaos of hers. "You don't have to decide that right now," he reminded her gently. "You'll figure it out in your own time. What's important is focusing on yourself first. There's a lot for you to process." She appreciated Jack's patience. It felt like he understood her in a way no one else did. "I wish I could just sort through these feelings and find clarity. I feel lost." "Maybe it's okay to be lost for a while," Jack suggested, leaning forward, his expression softening. "Sometimes you have to wander before you can find your way." Emily smiled weakly. "I guess you're right." As the drinks arrived, a sense of warmth filled her. Perhaps, just maybe, the tiny moments of light in the darkness could lead her toward something better. They sipped their coffee in comfortable silence, the tension easing bit by bit. But as Jack reached across the table to put his hand over hers, a new thought pierced through her comfort. What if Mom's secrets, what if they hold something even bigger? Something that changes everything? The anxiety rolled back in like a tide. What if there was more to uncover about her mother's struggles? What truths lingered just below the surface? Emily's mind raced with possibilities, each scenario more unsettling than the last. What if this journey was just beginning? And as she looked out the window, the weight of her next steps pressed down. The road ahead was murky, but there was no turning back now. Would she dare to dig deeper? Would she be brave enough to confront whatever lay hidden in her family's past? Jack's hand on hers felt warm, steady, and as she stared out at the bustling street, a sense of determination started to bubble within her. Just beyond the glass, people moved effortlessly, their lives intertwining in a neat tapestry that she felt frayed from. Yet, she also knew she had to unravel the threads of her own story before she could connect with theirs again. "I need to talk to my mom," Emily stated suddenly, surprising even herself. The thought had been lurking in the shadows of her mind, but now it pushed forward with urgency. "I need straight answers. Not just for me but for her too." Jack raised an eyebrow, his expression a mix of support and concern. "Do you really think she will open up about it all?" She didn't know if her mom would even have the courage to face the truth, let alone share it. But Emily felt an ache that urged her forward. "If I don't ask, I'll never know. I can't keep leaving things unspoken." Jack nodded, his action silent but assuring. "You're stronger than you think, Em. Just remember to be gentle with her. And with yourself. With each sip of her coffee, warmth seeped into her hands, slowly melting her apprehension. The familiar taste felt grounding, reminding her that though she was facing turmoil, the world was still spinning. They spent the next few moments in quiet contemplation, the cafe noise blending into a background hum. But distraction slipped away as anxiety began to creep back in, buzzing like a persistent fly. What if she doesn't want to share? What if it's too painful for her? The thought tightened her throat, making it hard to keep the unease from spilling over. Then you'll deal with that too, Jack replied softly, his eyes searching hers. You'll take it one step at a time just like you're doing now. You're right, she murmured, a mixture of gratitude and trepidation swirling within her. But what if there are things I'm not ready to hear? Things that might change how I view my entire childhood? Jack's hand tightened around hers, his warmth infusing her heart with a sense of calm. You'll figure it out. Some truths hurt, but they can also heal. It's about facing them, not running away. Emily took a deep breath, letting his words settle. She envisioned her mother's familiar face, the laughter, the love, but scattered between shadows of missed conversations. That image solidified her resolve. The time had come for clarity, no matter how painful it may be. Maybe I should talk to her tonight, she decided, determination returning with fresh energy. I can't let this go on any longer. Jack smiled, a proud glimmer lighting his eyes. That's the spirit. Just be honest. It can lead to growth for both of you. Their conversation fell into a comfortable rhythm, the worries at the forefront still lurking but caged for the moment. Ideas floated, touching on mundane topics, laughter sketching out the edges of vulnerability that still lingered. For a time the small cafe became a sanctuary, a safe bubble where the outside world felt muted, and hope gently flickered. But as they polished off their drinks, the shadows returned. What if her mother didn't have the answers Emily desperately sought? What if the secrets were more insidious than she imagined, shrouded in layers of pain? I'm going to need you with me, she said suddenly, glancing around the cafe as if confirming the moment of reckoning was inevitable. Will you come with me? When I talk to her? Jack hesitated, sensing the weight of her request. He leaned back, contemplating her words. I'll be there, but remember it's your conversation. Just let me know when. Relief washed over her, yet apprehension still twitched at the edges of her mind. Tonight was only the beginning. She would need every ounce of courage she could muster as they left the cafe. Stepping into the warmth of the evening sun, Emily caught sight of the horizon stretching wide. The path before her felt daunting, yet strangely electrifying. While secrets beckoned, she no longer felt trapped. She was ready to face her story, all of it. Who knew what revelations awaited? What would her mother finally confide? Would Emily find the strength to embrace the truths that lay in wait? The road ahead seemed uncertain, but she couldn't resist its pull, ready to uncover a destiny entwined with family, and perhaps even herself. Emily paced her room, the walls closing in slightly, echoing the nervous energy thrumming in her chest. Shadows played across her face as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow that bathed everything in a golden haze. The clock ticked loudly, each passing minute amplifying her unease. Tonight was the night. She glanced at her reflection, and her nerves were mirrored back at her in her hesitant smile. Who was she trying to convince? It seemed like the true battle lay within her own heart. Would she even be able to confront her mother with all the questions bubbling up inside her? Everything felt so tangled, a spider's web of memories and unspoken truths. With a sudden burst of determination, she reached for her phone. Dialing her mom's number, she felt her heart race as each ring echoed in her ears. The call disconnected, leaving lingering silence that seemed deafening. She envisioned her mother on the other end, probably busy with life as usual, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within Emily. Maybe it's best to just show up, she muttered to herself, running her fingers over the rough surface of her desk as if it could ground her. Confidence surged, fueled by her resolve and Jack's unwavering support. Emily decided to breathe deep and gather her thoughts. She pulled out a pad of paper, a space where her scattered emotions could flow freely. With each scribbled word, a sense of clarity emerged. The lists poured out questions about family history, mysteries about her father's absence, the suppressed whispers of pain that had haunted their home. What was the root of it all? And why had her mom never spoken of it? After jotting down her thoughts, she glanced at the clock again. Time was slipping away and she needed to act. Grabbing her jacket, she took a deep breath and headed out. The evening air wrapped around her, cool and refreshing, each step carrying her closer to the uncertainty waiting at her mother's doorstep. When she arrived, her mom's house stood sturdy and familiar, yet the light spilling from the windows felt so inviting and yet so intimidating. She hesitated, a fleeting thought flashing through her mind. What if this changed everything? What if her mom fell apart? Gathering her courage, Emily reached for the door and knocked softly, her heart racing as the echo faded away. She could almost feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. A few moments passed before she heard footsteps nearing, sending a wave of anticipation crashing over her. When her mother opened the door, Emily could see the initial surprise written across her face, morphing into relief. "Emily, what a nice surprise." Hi Mom," she replied, the tension in her throat almost choking her words. "Can I come in?" Her mother stepped aside, allowing Emily to enter the familiar comforts of the home they had shared for years. As the door clicked shut behind her, it felt as if a new chapter had begun. They settled in the living room, the air thick with the weight of unspoken dialogues. Emily's eyes searched her mother's face, seeing the worry flicker there like a candle battling against a draft. She clenched her fists nervously. "I need to talk to you about Dad in the past," she blurted out, her voice stronger than she felt. "Emily," her mom whispered, a hint of panic sharpening her features. "I am not ready for this." Yet the truth had been cracked open, and there was no turning back now. Emily steeled herself, heart pounding as she looked her mother in the eyes. "We need to be ready. I can't move forward until we confront this together." Silence settled between them, heavy yet charged with the potential for understanding. Emily's breath caught as she realized they were on the brink of something transformative. Just as she prepared to dive deeper into the tangled emotions stirring inside, her mother reached for her. "What if I told you there are things I never spoke about, things I thought would protect you?" The air crackled with tension, and what emotions hid behind those carefully chosen words began surfacing. Emily could feel the yearning for answers rise like a tide. What secrets would her mom reveal? Would it bring them closer? Or would it drive them apart forever? As the moment stretched, both were left wondering where this leap would take them. Emily's heart raced as she awaited her mother's response, the silence hanging so thick it felt like it could suffocate her. The years of hidden truths seemed to swirl around them, an invisible storm of emotions threatening to spill over. Her mother's brow furrowed, her voice shaking with uncertainty. "It's never been easy for me to talk about your father, Emily. It was all so complicated, so painful." She drew a deep breath, eyes shimmering. "I thought I was protecting you, shielding you from hurt." "Mom," Emily said, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. "I want to understand. I need to know where I came from, why things are the way they are." Her mother's gaze dropped to the floor, her fingers tracing a pattern on the fabric of her trousers. "And what if the truth isn't what you're prepared for?" "Anything is better than not knowing," Emily replied, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. "You've held on to these secrets for so long. I can't keep living in the shadows of the past, wondering." With a reluctant nod, her mother sat back in her chair, her expression shifting to one of resignation. "Your father, he wasn't just absent. There were choices he made that affected our lives, choices I never had the courage to share with you." "Please," Emily urged gently. "Start from the beginning." Her mother took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. "When I met your father, he was enchanting. But there were parts of him I didn't know. Parts he hid from me, and I kept hoping he'd change." As Emily listened, she could see the flickers of memory igniting something deep within her mom, the warmth of first love mixed with the harshness of realization. "I was young and naive, and love often blinded me. When he left, it shattered something in me, and telling you felt like opening a wound that had never healed." "Mom, I know that pain," Emily said softly, her own eyes misting over. "But you kept that wound between us. I felt its echo every day, his absence, your silence, the questions I could never voice. I didn't want you to carry that burden. I thought if I protected you from the truth, it would somehow keep you safe." Her mother admitted, tears now flowing freely down her cheeks. "But all I did was build a wall between us." Emily's heart twisted. She could see the depth of her mother's regret. This wasn't just about her father. It was about the lengths a parent would go to for love, even when those lengths caused unintentional pain. Mom, she whispered, we can't keep building walls. We need to break them down. Silence hung between them again. But this time it was different, charged with hope rather than fear. Slowly, her mother nodded, wiping her tears before finally meeting Emily's gaze again. A resolution solidifying in her eyes. As hard as this is, I owe it to you to be honest, her mother said, voice trembling but firm. Unfolding story? Should we let him in? Emily asked, uncertainty lacing her voice. Before her mother could respond, Emily realized this was another step. A choice that could either bind them closer or pull them apart further than they had ever been. And she had to decide which path they'd take next. Emily took a deep breath, the weight of her unresolved questions dancing in her heart. She glanced at her mother, who wore a look of equal parts confusion and hope. Let him in, she finally said, her voice steady. It was as if she instinctively knew that Jack's presence could be the bridge they needed to cross over the chasm of their silence. Jack, come in, Emily called, her tone lightening the atmosphere slightly. She watched the door open wider, revealing Jack with a familiar warmth etched on his face. He stepped into the soft light of the living room, an easy smile still lingering from the cafe visit. But as he registered the tension that hung in the air between them, his expression shifted to one of concern. Hey, I hope I'm not interrupting, Jack began, his hesitation making Emily's heart swell with gratitude. His presence felt like a tether, pulling her back to safety amidst the chaos of emotions about to unfold. No, it's fine. We were just, her mother's voice trailed off, searching for the words to fill the silence, but it was Jack who stepped forward. Look, I can come back another time if you two need privacy, he offered. The sincerity in his voice touched Emily deeply. It reminded her that he was here not just as a friend, but as a supporter in this difficult journey. No, Emily said quickly. Stay, please. We need to do this. All of us. The air crackled with the weight of shared understanding. Jack nodded, looking from Emily to her mother. I'm here for you both. Whatever you need. Her mother sighed, taking a moment to compose herself. Jack, thank you. I think having you here might help us through this. Emily could see a flicker of warmth in her mother's eyes. Perhaps she felt comforted by Jack's presence too. Once more, the tension settled, and all three of them felt the anticipation crackle through the air. Emily could feel her heart thumping like a drum. Mom, please. We were just about to discuss Dad and everything that so long has gone unsaid. I need to hear it, all of it. Her mother hesitated, but beneath her hesitation, Emily saw a flicker of determination. They had danced around the truth for long enough. With Jack there to support her, perhaps this was the moment for honesty. Okay, her mom said, voice quavering but stronger than before. You deserve to know. The truth isn't just mine to keep anymore. As they settled into the conversation, Emily could feel the walls beginning to crack, a hesitance dissolving beneath a wave of shared vulnerability. Her mother took a deep breath, eyes welling with tears. Your dad, he was struggling with his own demons. His absence wasn't just a decision, it was a battle he was losing. Each word carried a weight of revelation, like stones being lifted from Emily's shoulders. I thought sending him away would protect you from his darkness, her mother continued. I thought if I kept things quiet you'd be shielded from the fallout. But it was the opposite. I failed to see how much you needed to know the truth about who he was. Jack's eyes glimmered with understanding, silently urging them both forward. Emily reached for her mother's hand, a guiding gesture that reminded them both they weren't alone in this. What if I told you, that your mom tried to keep him around longer than she should have? Jack chimed in. His voice was firm but gentle, tearing down another veil between them. Sometimes letting go is an act of love, not a failure. Emily nodded, feeling the gravity of their shared experience. Memories flooded back, brief glimpses of her father when she was young, whispers of his presence woven into the threads of her childhood. But why didn't anyone tell me? Why did we have to keep it a secret? Her mother looked down for a moment, shame thick in her voice. Because I thought it would protect you and I was terrified of how you would react. I thought if you knew everything you would see him differently. But the truth is I should have trusted you more. I was old enough to understand, Emily said, her voice firm yet soft. I felt something was being hidden. And now I realize it was the silence that hurt the most. I know, her mother admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks. You showed me that the only way to heal is through honesty. I'm so sorry I kept that from you. You deserve more than silence. Emily could feel the warmth of her mother's words pour over her like sunlight. And I deserve to know how we can move forward together, she said, her voice steady with renewed conviction. Jack squeezed her hand, a simple gesture reminding them both that they were on this journey together. Opening old wounds isn't easy, but healing together is one of the most beautiful things you can have, he said softly. As they shared stories, tears, and heartfelt apologies, the emotional weight of the evening began to lift. Truth flowed freely, unearthing wounds but also paving the way for understanding. Emily felt lighter, as if those unspoken burdens were beginning to melt away. With each revelation came moments of laughter, sorrow, and connection, stitching their family back together one thread at a time. Though the road ahead remained complex, it was also filled with potential new truths leading to healing and understanding. While they couldn't predict what tomorrow would bring, something deep inside Emily knew they were on the right path. Together. As she glanced at Jack, a newfound appreciation filled her heart. He had been her anchor, and she was grateful he had chosen to stay. Thank you, Jack, she said, her voice carrying deep emotion, for being here with us. Jack smiled back, his warmth bolstering her courage. Always. Family isn't only built by blood. It's also made through the connections we cherish. As the evening stretched on, Emily felt the boundaries of her old heart shift, ready to embrace the light. And in that embrace of truth, she finally saw her future laid before her, a path filled with love, healing, and the promise of a renewed family bond. Now they could face anything together. If you enjoyed this story, don't just keep it to yourself. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread the love. And please comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters.